They say silence can be the loudest answer. But today, Melody decided her silence had lasted long enough. After years of whispers, speculation, and carefully chosen words, the 39-year-old reality star finally broke through the noise, and what she said left everyone in stunned disbelief. Her voice didn't shake. Her eyes didn't wander. She looked straight ahead and said it as plain as day. "My kids don't want this cheating man." The room froze. For a moment, you could almost hear the weight of her words hit the floor. The statement wasn't just about a man. It wasn't even just about betrayal. This was about years of trust shattered, nights spent wiping tears no one saw, mornings pretending everything was fine so the kids could have their breakfast without worry. But now, the mask was off, and the truth was stepping into the light. People have always wondered how much Melody's children knew, how much they felt. You'd think young ones wouldn't see the cracks, that they'd be shielded from the storm. But Melody painted a different picture. She spoke of kids who hear the arguments through closed doors, who notice the way their mother's smile doesn't quite reach her eyes anymore, who feel the tension in the air before a single word is spoken, and when they finally spoke up, it wasn't anger, it wasn't confusion, it was simple. They didn't want him around. She didn't name him right away. She didn't have to. Everyone in the room already knew. This was about the man who had once promised her the world. The man who stood beside her in front of family and friends, swearing loyalty. And yet, loyalty was the first thing to go. The man who let temptation chip away at his vows. Who let another woman's attention outweigh the family they'd built together. And while Melody spoke, you could see years of suppressed emotion surfacing, not in outbursts, but in the calm certainty of someone who's finally made peace with walking away. She described the way her children would avoid sitting next to him at dinner, how they'd grow quiet when he entered the room, how even at their young age, they understood something wasn't right. "Kids know," she said softly, "even if you think they don't." That's when the story turned from heartbreak to something even deeper, resilience. Melody admitted she'd once believed she had to keep the family together no matter what. That divorce was failure. That leaving meant giving up. But when your own kids start saying they feel safer without their father in the room, the definition of failure changes. Suddenly, it's not about keeping a picture-perfect home, it's about making sure the people in it can breathe. She admitted the decision to walk away wasn't easy. It meant stepping into a future she hadn't planned for. It meant raising her kids alone, figuring out how to pay the bills without his contribution. Facing the whispers from people who think divorce is a sign of weakness. But as she stood there telling her story, you could feel it. The fear that once held her hostage had been replaced with something else entirely. Strength. Strength. To say no. Strength to protect her children from a man who had already shown them what love shouldn't look like. Strength to choose peace over pretense. And she made something else very clear. She was done ignoring the voices of her children. "Too many adults think kids don't understand," she said, "but do they understand when something is wrong, even if they can't put it into words? And when they tell you, you'd better listen." When asked if she would ever forgive him, she didn't hesitate. "Forgiveness doesn't mean access," she replied. "I can forgive for my own peace, but I won't open the door for him to hurt us again. Not me, and certainly not my kids." She talked about the moment she knew she was done. It wasn't one explosive fight or one final betrayal. It was a quiet afternoon when her youngest came into the kitchen, tugged on her shirt, and asked if he still had to see the man who makes you cry. Melody said her heart stopped. Because in that moment, it wasn't about her pain anymore, it was about theirs. Of course, the man in question has his own version of events. He's claimed it's all a misunderstanding, that the love is still there, that mistakes shouldn't erase years together. But Melody's not buying it. She reminded everyone listening that apologies mean nothing without change. You can't cheat on someone, lie to their face, and then expect them to keep opening the door for you, she said, especially when that door leads to my children's hearts. She didn't shy away from admitting that leaving was terrifying. The thought of raising kids alone, of starting over at nearly 40, of facing the judgment of people who think women should just work it out, all of it weighed on her. But as she told her story, you could see the shift. Fear had turned into freedom. Sadness had turned into strength, and she made one thing very clear. Her children's voices mattered most. She said that too often, adults dismiss what kids say about their feelings, assuming they're too young to understand. But Melody listened. She believed them. And she made a promise, to herself and to them, that they would never again be forced to accept a version of love that was built on lies. There was a moment when someone asked her if she thought she'd ever forgive him. Melody didn't hesitate. "Forgiveness isn't the same as letting someone back into your life," she said. "I can forgive for my own peace, but that doesn't mean I want my kids to grow up thinking this is normal." The conversation wasn't all heaviness. She smiled when she talked about the joy she's found in the little things now, cooking breakfast without the shadow of an argument looming, hearing her kids laugh freely, dancing in the kitchen just because she can. These are the moments she holds on to, the ones that remind her she made the right choice. And yet, there's still a bittersweet edge to it all. Because no matter how strong you are, endings hurt. She admitted there are nights she still wonders how it could have been different, if there was a moment they could have turned back. But then she remembers that every tear she shed in silence was one her children felt too. And now, they're all learning what it means to heal together. As the discussion wrapped up, Melody left everyone with a message that wasn't just for women or for mothers, but for anyone who's ever been betrayed. "Love yourself enough to listen to the people who love you most," she said. "Sometimes the truth you've been avoiding is already being spoken by the ones you'd do anything to protect." And maybe that's what makes her story so powerful. This isn't just about a cheating partner. It's about breaking a cycle. It's about teaching her children by example that love without respect isn't love at all. That no one, no matter how much history they share with you, has the right to keep you in a place where you're diminished. Her voice may have cracked just once as she said her final words, but the conviction in them was unshakable. We're better without him. And that's the truth. So now, the question lingers in the air. What happens next? Will the man she spoke of finally step back and respect the boundaries she's built? Or will he try to claw his way back into a family that has already moved on without him? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, Melody has found her voice, and she's not giving it up again. And as you sit with her story, you can't help but wonder, if it were you, if your kids came to you with the same plea, would you have the strength to walk away? Or would you stay, hoping for change that never comes? Because in the end, Melody's words echo far beyond her own life. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is close the door, and mean it. She smiled when she spoke about the small joys in her new life, mornings without tension, hearing her children's laughter fill the house without hesitation, dancing in the kitchen just because they can. These moments, she said, are worth everything she gave up, and yet, she didn't sugarcoat it. Some nights, she still lies awake, wondering if there was a moment they could have fixed it all. But then she remembers the quiet way her children asked to be free of him, and she knows she made the right choice. In her final words, Melody delivered a message that was as much for the world as it was for herself. We're better without him, and that's the truth. If you felt her strength, her pain, and her determination tonight, make sure you hit that like button. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more stories that pull back the curtain on what really happens when the truth finally comes out. This is just one chapter, and trust me, you won't want to miss the next one.